Last we left off, we were talking about factors. Today, we will learn a new bit of multiplication math vocabulary, multiples. So factors, do you remember what a factor was? Think about it in your head. I'm going to say the answer soon. What is a factor? It's the number being multiplied, right? Now, a multiple, this is not to be confused with a multiple, which is the product of a given whole number and another whole number. So remember, when we heard that word product, that meant the answer to a multiplication problem. So one of the most common fourth grade mistakes is sometimes mixing up factors and multiples. But I know you're going to pay close attention to our multiple discussion today so that you don't fall into that trap. Let's practice. Give 6 multiples in each list. So this one wants multiples of 2. Well, that just means we're taking 2 and finding the product of 2 and the given whole number 2 and another whole number. So let's do 2 times 1 would give us 2. 2 is a multiple of 2. 2 times 2 would give us 4. We just did times 2, so now let's do times 3. 2 times 3 would give us 6. Now let's take this 2 and multiply it by 4 to get 8. Now we're going to multiply by 5 to get 10. And one more, 2 times 6 would give us 12. Not so bad, right? The multiples are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And this is actually, if you look on a multiplication chart, right, and you look at the row next to 2, you'll see this list of multiples. So your multiplication chart, the inside of it, is showing you the multiples of that number. Now I want you to go ahead and pause the video and try to make your list for 3 and 5. Remember, you're going to start off with that number times 1. So 3 times 1 is 3. I'll start you off. 5 times 1 is 5. You're starting your list with that first, and then you only need to list 6. You could go on forever and ever and ever, but I don't want you to do that because that could take a really long time. So go ahead, pause the video, play back when you're ready to see the lists. How'd it go with those multiples? Here are the answers. Check your work. If you need to pause the video so that you have more time to check, go ahead and do so. If all of your multiples match, give a woohoo. If you're sitting next to someone working, do it quietly so you don't disturb them, but still celebrate yourself for finding those. So let's now look at this next question. Question number 4 says 20, 40, and 50 are all multiples of blank and blank. Well, before we go answer this, you might know it already, but I want to just start looking at some patterns in the list we found. For instance, whenever we found a multiple of 5, do you notice any pattern? I noticed that in my ones place, I always have a 5 or a 0, right? No matter what. That's true for a multiple of 5. Maybe in this list, multiples of 2, you notice that any multiple of 2, is it going to be an even or an odd number? These are all even. That's pretty cool, right? For 3s, it changes. Sometimes they're odd, sometimes they're even. But for 2s, they're always even. Okay, so we're starting to notice some patterns about multiples, and there are a ton more tricks for knowing if something is a multiple right away that we'll be talking about in the days ahead. But let's think about the numbers 20, 40, and 50. Right away, I'm like, oh, these all have a 0 in the ones place. So I could use my 5 pattern and my pattern for multiples of 5. I could say, I know these are all going to be multiples of 5 because they have a 0. So that would be one possibility. I could also say, oh, I notice these are all even numbers. So these are all going to be multiples of 2. That's for sure. And actually, do you spot another one? Since these all have a 0 in their ones place, that means they're all multiples of 10. 10, 20, 30, 40. That's all true, always true for multiples of 10. Okay, so it's fun to spot patterns in these multiples that can help you get quicker at identifying if a number is a factor or not, or kind of something we call divisibility, meaning can that number be divided by that number to give you another whole number. But let's take a look at this next question, which is going to be very similar to one you'll see in your math journal. This one's the factors of 18. Whenever I hear factors, I'm going to think rainbow method, my favorite way to do it. So we'll start with 1 and 18 as our first pair. Then we're going to go through, is 2 a factor? Yes, so we'll put 2 and 9. Is 3 a factor? Check if you know the multiplication fact. Yep, we'll put 3 and 6. Is 4 a factor? You could look at a multiplication chart if you need to, or maybe you know, no, it's not. 5, no, we just said that would have to end in 0, 5, no. 6, no. 7, oh wait, 6, sorry, I spoke too soon. 6, yes, but we already have it. Got to catch them all? We did it. Got back to the turnaround fact. Okay, so now we know the factors. This column asks us for those factors, so I'm just gonna list what you just found in here. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 18. And for some reason I have an extra row. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we're gonna take this in each row, put multiples of those factors. So this is sometimes a little confusing because we're jumbling all the vocabulary together, but you're pros at math vocabulary, so we'll be fine. We want multiples of this. Well, multiples of 1 are kind of boring. Just means writing the numbers in order, writing the whole numbers. Let's go up to 18. 10, 11, I'm going to run out of room. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, I had to squeeze that in a little bit there. I'm going to switch colors so it's easier to see on 2. Now my multiples of 2, you can also think of it right as like skip counting with multiplication. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Now I'm going to go to multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. I want you to keep going. Do 6, 9, pause the video, do the multiples up to 18 of 6, 9, and 18 on your own, and play the video when you're ready to see the answer. Okay, welcome back. I gave you kind of the easier ones, or at least there weren't as many multiples you had to do. So check your work to make sure your multiples match. And now the big question. Which number is a multiple for each factor? So compare your lists. Which number do you see again and again? I see 18 is always a multiple. And the reason for that is that no matter what factor of 18 we're talking about, you can multiply it by another whole number and get 18. So when there's a problem in your math journal kind of like this, and I know you won't be confused, you could always re-watch this part if you need to see that again to kind of help you distinguish between the factors and the multiples. We're going to do one more math journal problem together. This one I'm going to do right out of your math journal. This is page 41, problem number 5. Pause the video and get there if you need to. Okay, so list the first 10 multiples of 4. We got this. If you need to use a multiplication chart, you can, but otherwise we know we're just going to skip count 4, 8, 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 9 is 36. And 4 times 10 is 40. Okay, so we have all of those multiples of 4. Now it wants the multiples of 8. I want you to pause the video and do your multiples of 8 and then play it when you're ready to see the first 10. How'd you do with those multiples of 8? Did you have them memorized or did you need to look at a multiplication chart? Sometimes I forget. 6 times 8 is 48 and 9 times 8 is 72. Those ones are sometimes tricky for me. But I'm sure you have your good list of multiples. So now let's look for some patterns. The next question asks which multiples of 4 are also multiples of 8. So that means you're looking to see the numbers that appear in both lists. Now I'm noticing that, right, like we have a match here with our 8s. We have a match here with our 16s. We have a match here with our 24s, 32. Oh, look at that. Every number that was a multiple of 8 is also a multiple of 4, but in 4, we're only getting every other number. So from our list, it was 8, 16, 24, 32, and 40. So that can help us notice a pattern, which was that every other multiple of 4 is a multiple of 8. Let's write that. That's using our math vocabulary and explains a very clear pattern. Every other multiple of 4 is a multiple of 8. And that's not the only right answer you could put there. Maybe you spot of not AA. Maybe you spot a different pattern, right? But that was just one that jumped out to me after that question. So have fun today finding more multiples, and I know you will not fall into the trap of confusing the term a factor, which is the number being multiplied, and a multiple, which is the product of the number and another whole number. You got this. Good luck.